Good evening. Welcome to this program on APEC Matters for America, America Matters for APEC. My name is Sept LeMay. I'm the Vice President of the East-West Center. And for those of you who do not know what the East-West Center is, we are a congressionally authorized and partly congressionally funded institution to promote better relations between the peoples of the United States and Asia through collaborative research, study, and exchange. And we do a number of programs ranging from degree programs to professional development, leadership development, as well as research, analysis, and publications. And one of our major projects is called the Asia Matters for America, America Matters for Asia series, in which we took a fairly decent deep dive into a set of regional relationships and country relationships to look at how they play in the world, but also specifically how they impact each other at the national, state, and local levels. This is the first time that we've done APEC. And I have to say quite forthrightly that APEC is generally not something that rolls off the tongue. And yet its significance globally, its significance to the US domestically, and to the Indo-Pacific region is huge. Covers almost 50% of global economy, billions of people. The 21 major economies are member countries. And the United States is hosting APEC this year. As you know, in November in San Francisco will be the leaders' meeting. So we were very fortunate to have the cooperation of the National Center for APEC based in Seattle, represented today by Alex Parle, who will speak with us, and Ambassador Matt Murray and his team at the Department of State. And as you know, Ambassador Murray is the ambassador for APEC. And so we're delighted to have cooperated with them to produce this report, and the first time we've done so. We're very grateful to all of the sponsors and supporters of this project who are members of the National Center for APEC, and of course the close readings of the document and suggestions for making it a better document. And this is kind of an introduction to use around the country, around the region, in our embassies, with congressional staff, with the educated public, for media references when the leaders meet, to give them something that they can use in their stories and articles and graphics, et cetera. And so we've provided this place. So I want to begin by deeply thanking National Center for APEC and the Department of State. We also are very fortunate today to have the 3 ambassadors of APEC. I've mentioned Ambassador Matt Murray, but last year it was the Kingdom of Thailand that hosted APEC, and we're delighted to have Ambassador Tani here today. Thank you, Ambassador, for coming. And we also have the upcoming chair of APEC next year, Peru, and we're represented by the ambassador as well. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us this evening. One final special introduction, so that I can keep my job for a little while longer, and that is our board member, Ambassador Kelly Curry, is joined us this evening. Kelly, thank you so much for being here this evening. Kelly is a very active member of our East-West Center board, which is appointed by the Secretary of State of the United States and another half of the board appointed by the Governor of the State of Hawaii. I cannot possibly do justice to all of the details, facts, graphics, laydown of this report. I do urge you to look at it, circulate it widely. It's also available on our AsiaMattersForAmerica.org website, so you can go there, and if you want to share the PDF or share the link, by all means, please do so. But I'm now absolutely delighted to welcome my collaborators or partners on this project. First, beginning with Mr. Alex Parle, and then followed by Ambassador Matt Murray, and then hopefully we will have some members of Congress who are also very busy here today, hopefully joining us along with some of our business community. Alex, over to you.
Thank you, Satu. when I had an event here, I think to kick off the APEC year, it was December last year, and I came here and I pulled out this piece of paper, and it was a map to this room, and not my remarks. About 40 minutes ago, I was wandering around out there. I was willing to trade my remarks for a map, but unfortunately, I found the room. So it's a pleasure to be here today, representing the National Center for APEC on a program, again with the ambassadors of the incoming and outgoing, or last year's. Host economies, and of course congressional representatives who are great supporters of APEC. As Sept noted, we're a Seattle-based, Washington-based organization. We're focused exclusively on APEC, so you can imagine this is a really big year for us to be involved in making sure this is a success for the government and for the people of APEC. People of the United States, and for our member companies. And our members comprise about 40. Our membership comprises about 45 well-known U.S. companies. This includes Citi and UPS, who are both going to be joining the program later today. And our mission is to represent the private sector in APEC's the wide variety of discussions in APEC. We do this through mechanisms like the APEC Business Advisory Council, which is the official mechanism for private sector input into APEC. And also the numerous workshops and seminars that APEC holds each year to reach out to stakeholders on key regulatory and emerging trade issues that are facing governments and businesses in the region. So we were delighted to support the development of this report during our host year. At the National Center, we spend a lot of time focusing on the nuts and bolts of APEC. We're trying to figure out the best working group to raise an issue, which other economies we can collaborate with on advancing an issue, and trying to time it just right. And we celebrate when our work is referenced in APEC Business Advisory Council report, or even better, in an APEC ministerial statement. And this is all well and good, but it's important to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And the publication that we're talking about today really gives us a chance to do that. Stepping back from the day-to-day to understand how work in APEC contributes to U.S. engagement and strengthens our presence in the Indo-Pacific. The stats and stories that are captured in the report do an excellent job of illustrating the importance of the region, the importance of our economic and people-to-people relationships in the region. It also shows us where more work needs to be done, whether that's promoting sustainability, and that's a key priority this year, creating more opportunities for traditionally marginalized communities to contribute to economic growth, or making the most of opportunities presented by emerging technologies such as AI. So we have a full, don't want to confuse reports, but the ABAC has a report also that's going to be coming out at the end of this week, when we would love to circulate that. It builds on a lot of what I've talked about today. So in closing, I'd like to thank my colleagues at the State Department and East-West Center for their work on this report. We really hope it contributes to creating a better understanding of how APEC contributes to the prosperity of the United States and our partners in the region. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you to Dr. Sept LeMay for really coordinating all of this and putting together this great report. Also, thank you so much to Alex Parle from NC APEC and all the collaboration we've had with them as we've set out to publish the report. And also would join in just greeting Ambassador Tani and Ambassador Meza Quadra, who are great partners, representing great partners in APEC, and really delighted that they could be here this evening as well. So, it is terrific to be here tonight for this launch of the publication of APEC Matters for America, America Matters for APEC. The U.S. APEC host year officially began at the East-West Center campus in Honolulu last December. So it's wonderful to join with you again for this major milestone on our APEC journey. In addition to Dr. LeMay, I also want to thank as well East-West Center board member Ambassador Curry, who's here this evening with us. And also, again, would want to thank NC APEC not only for the support on this report, but for being a great collaborator throughout our entire host year. So I'm honored to be here tonight with you, and so happy to see such a strong turnout for this presentation of the report, and also for the discussion that we're going to have this evening. It definitely helps qualify for all of us what we've all long known, that active U.S. leadership in APEC helps drive prosperity across America and also drive prosperity around the region. The APEC region is crucial to the prosperity of the United States. The 21 member economies, which straddle both sides of the Pacific Ocean, account for approximately 40% of the global population, nearly half of global trade, and more than 60% of the global economy. 7 of the United States' top 10 trading partners are APEC members. And the sheer size of the APEC economies isn't the only reason why APEC matters to the United States. APEC is the premier platform for the United States to advance economic policies in the Asia-Pacific region, to promote free, fair, and open trade and investment, and to advance inclusive and sustainable growth. The United States is taking full advantage of our APEC host year this year to collaborate with partners to showcase and strengthen the international economic system and to showcase the importance of engagement with the region for American prosperity. Under our APEC 2023 theme of creating a resilient and sustainable future for all, the United States has been furthering APEC's work across a wide range of policy domains, including trade and investment facilitation, the digital economy, health, gender equity and equality, clean energy and climate, anti-corruption, and food security. And we've been very fortunate to be able to follow on Thailand's great work in all of these areas last year. The United States, in mid-2021, raised its hand to host APEC to demonstrate to the Asia-Pacific region that we are taking the lead here on multilateral engagement. We sought to use our APEC host year to deepen ties with like-minded partners and allies around the region and help strengthen the global economic architecture. Most importantly, we took on the responsibility of hosting APEC to deliver ambitious policy outcomes on sustainability, resiliency, inclusion, and the digital economy that drive the U.S. economy and help us shape the economic rules of the road for the entire Asia-Pacific region. The United States stands to gain enormously from our leadership in this dynamic region. As today's report indicates, U.S. exports to the APEC region in 2021 totaled $1.31 trillion. U.S. exports to APEC economies support directly and indirectly nearly 7 million jobs in the United States, and these jobs are being created across the country. 21 states each host more than 100,000 jobs that are reliant on exports to APEC economies. The $1.7 trillion stock of foreign direct investment from APEC economies highlighted in the report is driving economic growth in all corners of the country. Important new investments, some of which are in the industries of the future, are spurring major projects in Arizona, Kansas, Texas, and Michigan, places that are not necessarily front of mind when talking about economic engagement with the Asia-Pacific region. Through our leadership in APEC, we seek to continue to create opportunities for all communities in the United States to benefit directly from the economic dynamism of this vital region. And importantly, the stories of economic resilience and growth from the communities where we hosted APEC delegates this year, from Honolulu to Palm Springs to Detroit to Seattle, resonated throughout the region. As we often say, the strength of the public-private collaboration within APEC is the secret sauce that makes APEC so powerful. The formal role of the private sector within APEC, which Alex has helped outline, allows governments to hear directly from businesses about their challenges and provides businesses with a clear understanding of how governments are addressing those challenges and creating new economic opportunities. We've engaged this year with thousands of stakeholders representing micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, labor groups, academics and students, indigenous community leaders, and women-owned businesses to seek their insights as well on how we can deliver outcomes in APEC that benefit all American workers, families, and businesses. And I've been energized and inspired by the innovation and creativity of the private sector partners we've met this year as we've traveled to other cities around the country, including Los Angeles, New York, Pittsburgh, the Atlanta area, San Francisco, Chicago, and just up the road in Rockville, Maryland. We will continue to elevate stakeholder engagement with the private sector, civil society, environmental groups, and aspiring entrepreneurs to foster the strong, balanced, sustainable, and inclusive economic growth we all seek. So again, I want to thank the East West Center and NC APEC for organizing tonight's important event. And I want to thank all of you for being here, for your strong support of our APEC host year, as we've traveled the country to learn how we can do better to help APEC deliver outcomes for the American people. We know there is still much work ahead of us in the next couple months as we prepare for President Biden to host the APEC Leaders Summit in San Francisco in November. But we look forward to participating, partnering with everyone here tonight to demonstrate to communities all across the country why APEC matters. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Murray. That's terrific. And as I said, we're delighted to have last year's country ambassador for APEC here today, Thailand's Ambassador Tani, and Mesa Cuadro from Peru, Peru will host next year's APEC. And I neglected to mention that you should have a sheet with the bio information of our speakers tonight, our planned speakers tonight. And Please forgive me if I don't read every one of them, because otherwise the entire program would be given over to the extraordinary experience and expertise of our speakers. But with that, let me invite Ambassador Tani to make some remarks as well, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sadulime. It's almost a year ago since I've been down here on this level of the Capitol Hill. It's indeed a great pleasure, and thank you, East West Center. Thank you, our friends who support APEC. That I'm very happy that we're here, and it seems that when we were the host, it was just a few short months ago. APEC has grown to become a dynamic engine of economic growth and one of the most important regional cooperation frameworks in the Asia Pacific. Since its inception, APEC has played a leading role in promoting regional economic integration and trade facilitation, making it easier to do business in the region, and many more. We are pleased, Thailand is pleased with the successful outcomes of our host year, with the support of the US and our friends around the region, particularly the deliverables, including one, the Bangkok goals on bio-circular green or BCG economy. Number two, the refreshed conversation on the FTAP agenda, the free trade area within Asia Pacific. And number three, the APEC BCG award that we have started during our host year. We learned that issues like sustainability remain common interests of all members. So we had built within the APEC DNA the principle of sustainability. And there is room to navigate and find common grounds to make adjustments for all APEC economies. This is a gravely important issue that unites and not divides APEC member economies. For this reason, we are pleased that the US has placed sustainability front and center of conversation in APEC this year. And we're working closely with the US to push forward relevant key outcomes this year. We're particularly pleased with the impressive progress made to advance the Bangkok goals this year, with over 280 projects contributing to all of its goals, including climate change, sustainable trade and investment, and sustainable resource management. We also welcome the BCG pledge initiated by the APEC Business Advisory Council, ABAC, to demonstrate the commitment of the business community in APEC to implement practical and ambitious actions to advance the Bangkok goals. We also look forward to the first Sustainable Future Forum, as well as the announcement of the inaugural winners of the APEC BCG Award at the end of this year. It will be an opportunity for APEC leaders to reaffirm their support for APEC achievements so far and reiterate the commitment to continue working together going forward for the benefits of the people of this region. Last week, our new Prime Minister, Sept, the new Prime Minister of Thailand, was in New York for the UNGA 78. It was his first overseas trip since assuming the office. He met with several prominent business leaders from manufacturing to financial sectors. His message to all of them was clear and simple. Now is the time to do more business in Thailand. We will work together to expand the $14 billion investment across 27 states in the US and the $74 billion trade volume with the US next year and beyond. Our Prime Minister emphasized the following. On trade, and we do a lot of trade with APEC, Thailand will speed up the FTA negotiations with key economies and actively participate in innovative integration and at bilateral and multilateral fora, including APEC. On investment, we would build a new engine of inclusive growth driven by innovation and creativity, future-proof industries such as digital economy, cutting-edge technology, in particular upstream semiconductor, aerospace, and defense. Also advanced agriculture, biotechnology, as well as climate-resilient solutions would be fully promoted and supported. On sustainability, which is the key secret sauce of APEC, Thailand would become a leading clean energy producer in the region, with clean energy proportion target of 50% by 2050. And more support would be needed from the United States and other APEC economies in terms of investment and expertise in the areas of renewable energy, hydrogen technology, battery storage solutions, carbon capture utilization and storage, CCUS, and sustainability finance, leveraging our investment in the US. We would like to reaffirm our support for US agenda and on creating resilient and sustainable future for all, and look forward to the APEC Economic Leaders Summit Week in San Francisco, where our new leadership will participate in APEC for the first time. I'm taking off for San Francisco tomorrow as well to prepare for the trip organized by the State Department to prepare for our economic leaders meeting. I thank you very much for this opportunity, Mr. Tati.
Appreciate the chance to come and say hello, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Rick Larson from Washington State's 2nd Congressional District, so to think of that in geography terms, it's north of Seattle, but none of Seattle. We've got lots of agriculture there. We've got the border with Canada, our friend and ally in Canada, and I represent more Boeing employees than any member of Congress in the country with a large plant there. So it's obviously a very critical state and region when it comes to APEC and trade and the relationship among the economies. I also serve as co-chair of the bipartisan congressional APEC caucus, along with Republican Representative Dave Schweikert of Arizona. And from my home state of Washington, the Asia Pacific region is not the Far East; it's the Near West. It's closer to me than going the other way, and to get to Asia. So on the West Coast, we generally look west and think about our future being there as well. The Pacific Northwest ties to this region are long-standing. They're built on close economic and people-to-people ties, making clear that the ocean does not divide us, it connects us. Thanks to your latest report as well, I know that Washington State is the 5th largest U.S. exporter of goods and services, and the 2nd largest U.S. exporter of food and egg products to ASEAN countries in particular. But more than 18,600 jobs in my state are supported by those exports. And this report that's coming out is valuable for members of Congress. APEC Matters for America, America Matters for APEC. I have come to rely on this report, on your research and analysis when I travel the region, most recently when Dave Schweikert, Don Norcross from New Jersey, and I traveled to Singapore. During my trip, I was able to reflect just on the strength of the U.S.-Singapore relationship, including a robust free trade agreement and the work the U.S. has to do to develop and enhance its relationships with all partners in the Asia-Pacific region. I'm also very pleased the U.S. Is hosting APEC meetings, including 9 meetings recently in the Pacific Northwest. Hosting APEC enables the U.S. to work with the region to pursue an ambitious agenda for balanced, sustainable, and inclusive growth that creates jobs, that raises standards for everyone in areas like labor, the environment, infrastructure, investment, and digital trade. And engagement with this region is vital for the U.S.'s economic future and shared prosperity as well. So while the U.S. has been an active security partner in the region, I've also called for a much stronger U.S. role in diplomacy and economic cooperation. APEC is an essential forum for this arrangement. That is why Representative Schweikert and I started the APEC caucus in 2017, because we believe then, as we believe now, that closer economic ties will benefit workers and families throughout the region. One area that is vital, certainly, is among the 21 member economies, is energy and the green economy. And so in August, I had the opportunity to attend an event in Bellevue, Washington, along with APEC economy energy officials, about the importance of just energy transition and reducing pollution. The Biden administration, I would argue, has charted a course of recovery in the wake of COVID-19, a course of recovery in the wake of a U.S. withdrawal from TPP, and a course of recovery despite the ongoing trade conflict with China. But Congress then also moved forward and passed landmark legislation to help get our own house in order by investing in transportation infrastructure with passing the bipartisan infrastructure law, increasing the resiliency of our supply chains by passing the CHIPS and Science Act and supporting the American workforce, and helping our own transition to a greener economy with the Inflation Reduction Act. So in my view, these investments in American competitiveness should serve as a foundation for deeper economic engagement with the APEC countries. So I want to thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. Can't wait to read the summary and have my staff read the whole report and give me their review as well. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is indeed very intimidating to go before you and have you sit here and listen to me. And by the way, I want to welcome you all to the world's best functioning democracy. In these halls, we get things done on time, on schedule, and we only have a few days to do that. So we're happy to have all of you. We will all get through this together. I am so honored to again join the East-West Center in one of the great publications in their Asia Matters for America and vice versa. I come before you today in a couple of different roles. First of all, I am the incredibly proud representative of the East-West Center in Honolulu, one of our premier institutions throughout our entire country and world, and certainly our premier institution in Hawaii, looking to the Asia Pacific region. Such a great number of decades, and this series that you have undertaken, Satu, over the last couple of years has, as Rick just said, been invaluable and has been a major contributor to the research, to the scholarship, to the policies that we have to strike here in Washington, D.C. So I'm very proud to represent the East-West Center, to be honest. Also, of course, you know, Rick talked about how he was, what did he say there? He said he was the far west or something like that. Well, I'm out there, man. I'm the far west, or maybe I'm the near east for the United States. It doesn't matter. The point is that in Hawaii, we are truly part of the Asia Pacific region. We are part of APEC's country, of APEC's world, by culture, by tradition, by orientation. Our businesses relate to the Asia Pacific region. In so many ways, we look west rather than east in Hawaii, and that's one of the reasons why our institutions such as the East-West Center do so well. Not to mention the fact that everybody likes to visit Honolulu when you want to do think tank kind of stuff. And third, frankly, I'm here because I believe in the values of international trade. You know, I read an article the other day that talked about how our country was reverting away from principles of international trade that have been with us for decades now, and I reject that. And I think that that's incorrect. I think that, in fact, our country has embraced international trade, embraced the concepts that APEC has stood for all of these decades. And I believe that, yes, we have, like in any great democracy, a minority view that somehow we should move away from that world. But I can assure you that on a bipartisan basis, throughout a number of administrations, that's not reflected by the evidence. And we need institutions to be strong, such as APEC, to facilitate, to advance the principle that has really done so much for us in the last 3 generations of international trade that is free, that is fair, that is open, that functions according to a set of rules that we can all agree to, that we can all live by, that advance not just economic interests, but tangential, related, broader interests, such as climate change. Yes, we have to act collectively on climate change, and we know that if any one country, if any one industry is not with the program on solving climate change, it's very hard for the rest of us to do that. And so the institutions such as APEC that bring us together, that forge those bonds, that encourage us, incentivize us, and get us all comfortable with a common set of rules are very, very important. And this obviously has to do with national security as well. Our country stands, like I believe all of yours, for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Free and open in many different slices of that phrase. Certainly free and open from a democratic choice perspective, certainly free and open from the freedom of the seas, that nobody will be able to monopolize the trade routes throughout our world, but also in the economic sense that free and open means that we get to trade with other people under the conditions that we agree to. And that the more people that agree on a common framework for trade, the stronger we will all be. And that's what APEC has stood for, and that's what we stand for. And so as we kind of go through some very difficult decades here throughout the world, as we find our way into the next generation of trade agreements, of broader understandings, multilateral agreements that will develop and strengthen those set of international rules and norms that have done so well for us, as we go through those, we need those networks, those glues, those frameworks that will hold us together as we generate new approaches, and we're talking about that right now. But the people that have been here for decades, such as APEC, that have forged this wave, that have developed this foundation that are going to be part of that framework and must be, that's very important for us all to understand and to embrace. And that's why the publication is a valuable contribution from that perspective, because here in Hawaii and in America, I think in Hawaii we pretty much understand this, but in America we always need to relearn that. And similarly, the rest of us need to relearn why this relationship is so mutually important to all of us. And so with that, I'm grateful again to our speaker, who's been so strong in these areas. I got APEC in Honolulu in 2010. Now it's your turn, Madam Speaker. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to working with each and all of you. But I especially, again, appreciate the East-West Center for this contribution and for this strengthening of a tie that is a critical tie for us going into the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you for the hosting before, setting such a grand example. I don't think Hawaii, Dan, he left, is conspicuous enough on this map. For all of the, shall we say, trips that we all make to the Orient by way of Hawaii. But it is wonderful to be with all of you. It's my privilege to join the East-West Center and the leaders gathered today to launch the new APEC. And I love this book, APEC Matters for America, America Matters for APEC. I can't wait to read it. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your leadership and guiding us through so much of this. As was mentioned, San Francisco will be hosting the APEC meeting in November. We are so honored and so excited. With a great deal of enthusiasm and advocacy, we, shall we say, hoped that this would come our way, and we want to do justice to it. Why? Because we are so blessed in our community. My district alone is over a third Asian Pacific American, every diversity within that you can name, and they feel very honored to be part of the welcome. President Biden has been, from the start, very much, even when he was vice president and with President Obama, looking to the Asian Pacific. He encouraged many of us to take trips there again and again, and we've done so in a bipartisan way. Our three pillars of any visit outside the country are about security, 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 economics, and values, governance. Security, economics, the economy, and governance. And all three of those areas of focus are part of what APEC is about. Of course, security means everything to all of us. But all the three of those issues fall under, directly relate to the climate issue. It's a security issue. We are told by national security advisors again and again that the conflict that can arise from competition for habitat and resources because of drought and all of the other natural disasters and mitigations that can happen, that can cause conflict. It certainly is an economic issue in all of the countries of the world and all of the communities. Jobs, 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 good green technological jobs throughout the world to lift people up. And third, governance, so that we have environmental justice as we go forward in, again, recognizing the natural causes that might make a big change. And again, science, science, science to address all three. security, economics, and governance. When we went on our recent trip, one of the issues that came up is not a country that is in APEC, but one that we have to recognize, that's the vote, more fully, is the impact of the relationship that we want to have with India in all of this as well. The biggest democracy in the world, very concerned about security, economics, and governance issues one way or another. So we really look forward to welcoming all of you, whether it's governmental officials, heads of state, of course, the president welcoming, other governmental officials, the private sector, corporate America playing such a big role in all of this, nonprofit organizations, and community people. I myself have spoken with the speaker about possibly having a delegation come from the Congress. Of course, it depends on if we are in session. I'm optimistic that we will keep government open this weekend. I'm very optimistic about that, but we'll see. They're taking the first vote in the Senate right now, just in case you're wondering. but there's one senator who's saying he's going to hold it up until like Sunday, and it's the old saying, 99 senators are not enough. So just watching to see how that is. But in any event, I only mention it in terms of what it means for scheduling. Hopefully we'll have a long enough continuing resolution so it won't interfere with the participation. And what I want to do is to have as we did with the Summit for the Americas, to have a parliamentary meeting where we can meet with some of the other officials. The president will be meeting with the heads of state, and those of you who have been to these meetings know it's just for the heads of state. So we would like to have whether other officials, parliamentarians, and the rest. I'm hoping the speaker can come, but he's already said if he can't, who he'd like to come. And I've talked to the senators about it as well, so that we can have a full welcome to the guests who come, a full discussion. And I do believe that when we're talking about APEC and all of the issues that the heads of state will be discussing, that interparliamentary communication and establishing of increasing relationships is very important. So we have our presidents, we have our diplomats, we have our parliamentarians, and we have our community people as well. But you who are in the business community, you're diplomats, you're business, you fit into almost every category, so we look forward to welcoming you there as well. Our event will probably be toward the end of the week because we'll be in session the first few days of the conference. But in any event, every day that the meeting is there and leading up to it is cause for great excitement, take great pride, want America to shine beautifully. And I'll just say one more thing. I just came back from some meetings in Europe, and they were there. Well, America's paying so much attention to the Pacific. Yes, we are, and you should be too. This is not a zero-sum game. Of course, some of the European countries have their own histories, for better or worse, in Asia. But we just want this to be so global. And thank you for the efforts that you are making to do so. So thank you for coming to San Francisco in advance. We look forward to welcoming you and welcome any suggestions you may have that can make this the promise that we have made to make it very good. I would say the very best, but my colleague was just here who just had it, so I won't say that. But thank you for this. APEC Matters for America. America Matters for APEC. What a great idea. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
And we thank all the representatives who joined us today, Representative Larson and Representative Case. It's, to my mind, a great signal that our members of Congress at such levels from different states are so engaged in the APEC work, supporting Ambassador and the region and our U.S. government policy. And it also gives me an idea for Ambassador Meza Codro. Thank you for your patience, but now you know who to invite to Peru for when you host APEC. So let me please invite you, Ambassador, to make your remarks at this time. Thank you so much.
Very challenging to speak after three important politicians, Representative Larsen, Representative Case, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi. We are honored and very pleased to participate in this occasion. As you know, Peru will be hosting next year APEC. It's a great honor for us to participate in this important economic forum. You know, it's the third time Peru will be hosting APEC. So for us, APEC is extremely important in our foreign policy. It's probably one of our main goals to relate with the Asia-Pacific countries. Since we joined the APEC in 1998, our trade with the economies that are part of APEC grows approximately 12% per year. And also, it has facilitated the numerous trade agreements Peru has right now. We have a trade agreement with the US, with China, with Canada, with all the important Thailand, with all important economies of the world, thanks particularly to APEC. So we are very pleased to participate in the release of this important document that help us to highlight the importance for the world economy of APEC. Peru is a multilateral convinced country. We participate actively in several multilateral forums, and we are very open to trade and investment. And I think that APEC is a very good way to promote these important values. For the Peru's summit of APEC, our President Boluarte, has proposed as priorities trade and investment for inclusive growth, innovation to promote a transition to the formal and global economy, and sustainable growth for a resilient development. These are the top priorities. She will be participating in San Francisco, receiving the baton from President Biden, and we are working very closely. I think this is a very nice coincidence to have the US chairing this year APEC, and Peru next. I think this has highlighted the possibilities of cooperation. We thank very much Ambassador Matt Murray, that was recently in Lima working with our team. I think this collaboration is very important to assure continuity in this important discussion we have at APEC. So we look forward for participating in San Francisco. We hope it will be, as always, a successful event. And also we will wait you next year with not only state members and the governmental representatives, but also the private sector that is so important for APEC. We look forward to receive you in Peru. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador Meza Cuadro, and I'll begin lobbying my bosses for a trip to Peru to launch the second edition of our report soon, right after this event. Really appreciate your comments. We have two very brief video remarks from two folks who could not be here in person due to other commitments, but wanted to make sure that you heard from them about the importance of our U.S. APEC host year. And that is Dr. Kurt Campbell, as you know, Deputy Assistant to the President and National Security Council Coordinator for the Indo-Pacific. And then followed by Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia and Pacific Affairs, Mr. Daniel Crittenbrink. So I'd like to please just ask your indulgence for their very 2 to 3 minute remarks, and then we will turn to a very critical part of the program chaired by Alex Parle of the National Center for APEC, and that's our private sector companies that make APEC not just about policy, but about the business that leads to the results that Matt Murray and others have pointed out. Trade, jobs, investment, people-to-people relationships, and all that goes with that private sector involvement. So can we roll the videos?
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Kurt Campbell. I'm the Indo-Pacific Coordinator here at the National Security Council in the White House. I just wanted to take a few moments to congratulate the East-West Center on its excellent work on so many things. We've been hosting the Pacific Island leaders here in Washington this week. President Biden met with them this morning, and on several occasions, the leaders spoke of the excellent work that the East-West Center has done helping to connect the United States with the Pacific Islanders. As we look forward later in the fall, President Biden and the United States will be hosting APEC in San Francisco. This is the 30th anniversary of the founding of APEC in 1993 in Seattle under President Bill Clinton. President Biden's looking forward to bringing all the leaders of the APEC region to San Francisco to celebrate our accomplishments and to look forward on ways that we can advance economic connections, people-to-people engagement, and technology and other areas that bring our peoples together. The East-West Center has provided us with what we think is really the best document that helps make clear how to measure the many connectivities that exist between the United States and the APEC region. Its publication, APEC Matters, is a terrific document that helps us understand all the things that are important that link us with the many and diverse countries of the region. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the East-West Center, to indicate how much we're looking forward to hosting all the countries and economies in San Francisco in November. And we look forward to good work ahead by the East-West Center in so many different areas that are so critical to us in the Indo-Pacific region. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my good friends at the East-West Center for inviting me to provide remarks today. As Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, I am honored to congratulate the East-West Center on the launch of the APEC Matters for America, America Matters for APEC report, and to express thanks to the APEC U.S. Private Sector Host Committee for making this report possible. On the eve of the 30th anniversary of the first APEC Economic Leaders meeting in Seattle, this important publication highlights the enormous economic impact of U.S. engagement in APEC. The report also underscores our commitment to supporting American workers, families, and businesses. And perhaps most importantly to this audience tonight, the report helps explain how communities in every state across our great country benefit directly from the trade, investment, technology, education, and tourism ties that bind together the dynamic Asia-Pacific region. President Biden's Indo-Pacific strategy offers a vision for an Indo-Pacific region that is free and open, connected, prosperous, secure, and resilient. The United States is both strengthening its own role in the region and building the collective capacity to accomplish these goals. Our work in APEC is a central element of our Indo-Pacific engagement, where we're building connections with our partners and friends to create and support a lattice work of strong coalitions to build collective capacity and tackle our shared problems. APEC's 21 member economies span both sides of the Pacific. They account for approximately 40% of the world's population, nearly half of global trade, and more than 60% of the global economy. As the new report indicates, the total stock of foreign direct investment in the United States from fellow APEC economies exceeds $1.7 trillion US dollars, with greenfield investments from APEC partners creating nearly 1 million jobs across the country over the past 2 decades. The report also shows that total U.S. exports to the APEC region topped $1.3 trillion in 2021, with those exports supporting nearly 7 million jobs in the United States. And I must admit, I'm very proud to see that total exports from my home state of Nebraska to the APEC region totaled nearly 10 billion US dollars, with almost 3/4 of that coming from the high-quality agricultural exports that consumers across the Asia-Pacific region have come to love. And it's exciting to learn that nearly 75,000 jobs in Nebraska are supported by these exports to APEC economies. These are huge numbers, and they demonstrate the enormous scale of our economic engagement with this vital region. As part of our enduring commitment to the region and to broad-based economic growth, the United States has proudly served as the host of APEC throughout 2023 as a tangible demonstration of U.S. leadership in the region. Throughout the U.S. APEC host year, we've held hundreds of meetings and events from the ministerial level to experts working groups in Seattle, Detroit, Palm Springs, and Honolulu. In doing so, we've made every effort to ensure strong engagement with a wide array of stakeholders. And I would particularly like to thank the East-West Center for getting us off to such a great start by hosting the first meetings of our host year in Honolulu last December. Under our APEC 2023 theme of creating a resilient and sustainable future for all, the United States has advanced APEC's work in concrete ways across a wide range of policy areas. And in doing so, we're collaborating with like-minded partners to strengthen the international economic system. We've worked closely with the private sector and civil society to help shape an APEC 2023 agenda that focuses on sustainability, the digital economy, resiliency, and inclusion. APEC Economic Leaders Week in San Francisco will feature meetings hosted by Secretary Blinken and Ambassador Tai, Secretary Yellen, and of course, the Leaders Meeting chaired by President Biden. Additionally, we expect many other events on the sidelines of Leaders Week that will serve as platforms to highlight robust U.S. economic engagement across the Indo-Pacific region. On the private sector front, the U.S. APEC Private Sector Host Committee, coordinated by our partners at the National Center for APEC, is organizing the annual APEC CEO Summit under the theme of Creating Economic Opportunity. We anticipate a dynamic event that highlights the potential of collaboration to shape the future through a focus on sustainability, inclusion, resilience, and innovation. APEC Leaders Week will serve as a platform for many other stakeholders, including academics, students, and state and local officials, all coming together to help advance APEC's vision of an open, dynamic, and resilient Asia-Pacific community, delivering prosperity to all. Once again, I want to thank sincerely our partners at the East-West Center for your work on this fantastic report, which highlights not only the economic benefits that U.S. engagement with APEC brings to our country, but also the enormous impact that U.S. leadership through APEC brings to the entire Asia-Pacific region. This new report emphatically confirms what we have all long known. APEC matters to the United States, and the United States matters to APEC. Again, I send my best wishes for a wonderful event to all of you tonight. Look forward to seeing many of you in San Francisco in November for the APEC Leaders Week program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thought I was going to have to plug the APEC CEO Summit, which we were putting on, but I'm delighted that the Assistant Secretary did that for us. Thank you for the State Department for your support in that. And also in his remarks, the term resilience came up a few times, and that's what we're here to discuss today. So I've asked my colleague, Sarah English, these are members of the National Center for APEC who are steeped in APEC, and very, very experienced in dealing with, from the private sector perspective. Sarah English from Citi and Catherine Meller from UPS to speak a little bit about economic resilience from their industry perspectives. And I also want to save a little bit of the time at the end to talk about why companies engage in APEC. And it doesn't come naturally when you, as Satu noted earlier, people think, oh, it's a government-to-government forum, but there is a whole lot of engagement from the private sector, from other stakeholders, and from around the whole region, not just the United States. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Sarah to kick things off.
Thank you, and thank you to the, sorry. Thank you to the East-West Center, and thank you to NC APEC for hosting this panel. So, economic resilience, there's been a lot of extraordinary events over the last few years that have really created obstacles for businesses around the world to actually engage in global trade. Costs are rising, inflation rates are high, credit availability is limited, forcing many businesses to diversify. And that diversification comes in the form of trading partners, supply chains that we're all experiencing now. And that means resiliency resiliency benefits for consumers, companies, and countries. For example, when a Vietnamese textile exporter has orders to fill from dozens of countries instead of a few, that company becomes significantly more stable and less vulnerable to dips in demand from one market to the other. At the same time, the Vietnamese economy becomes more resilient and less dependent on few mega producers or smaller producers that come online to fill that demand. Similarly, many countries in the Indo-Pacific has diversified their exports to include services industries, not just manufacturing, and they in turn have become more resilient. Recent Citi surveys conducted found that multilateral corporations are looking to extend relationships with current suppliers and broaden their base of suppliers to cushion any future disruptions. As they do this, they're looking to strengthen not only their physical supply chains, but also their financial supply chains, recognizing the importance of suppliers' access to working capital. Many of these last-mile suppliers are, by their nature, small and medium-sized enterprises, experiencing the most acute inflationary pressures. As we all know, SMEs comprise over 90% of businesses and more than 60% of employment worldwide, and yet their participation in international trade is very limited. And in the Indo-Pacific, they represent more than half of the suppliers. More than half of the suppliers don't have access to financing. So to overcome these challenges and capture opportunities in front of them, SMEs need help both from the private and public sector. By supporting them through deep supply chain financing, we can increase the stability of international trade and create more inclusive economy. With financial institutions serving as the intermediary, supply chain financing programs help facilitate faster payments from buyers to suppliers and allow for buyers to reach deeper and build stronger relationships. By taking advantage of strong credit quality of buyers, suppliers can access working capital at lower costs. However, private sector finance programs face limits when it comes to promoting supplier relationships, especially in developing economies. Here, global development institutions have a key role to play. Through their unique position and specialized knowledge, multilateral agencies, development finance institutions can fill the gaps to reduce the risk of creditors and allow financing to reach grassroots levels. They can invest directly through private sector projects in low and middle income countries where financing programs cannot easily access. So a few weeks ago, to highlight this point, the International Finance Corporation and Citi launched a $300 million facility pilot under the IFC's newly established Global Supply Chain Finance Program. The pilot will provide much-needed supply chain finance to suppliers and buyers in emerging markets, and thus easing constraints and boosting market resilience. Higher working capital costs and deteriorating access to unsecured financing has exacerbated an already steep demand for supply chain finance. So the collaboration with Citi marks the first pilot under the GSCF and builds on successful programs from the past. As economies emphasize resilience, it's important to realize that not only can much come from within, but there is significant stability to be gained from opening up to new trading partners. The United States should choose to source certain technologies or goods from within the borders in the interest of national security, but resilience and economic security will increase as it deepens existing trading relationships and fosters new ones. And this is really why APEC matters.
I am fairly new to my company at UPS, and with affection to Ambassador Murray and the other ambassadors, explaining APEC sometimes to my business colleagues can feel a little word salady, and it feels a little like, what are you doing? Why are you taking money to sponsor something like this? This report, I think, speaks the most clearly to a company about how multifaceted the relationship with Asia is with APEC, how important it is, and it does the work that sometimes that we in public affairs struggle with in connecting with our business colleagues, so thank you. On resiliency, we've had to dig into this definition at UPS post-pandemic, and we look at it in the same way that Sarah does from the perspective of our sector, the transportation sector, and then also from our customers. Our sector's had a lot of challenges, very well documented throughout the pandemic. There were issues related to planning and transparency in transport that led to a backlog. Then we had COVID, which brought down 50% of air cargo as passenger planes were grounded. And then we've had some geopolitical challenges since then, and these have each brought with them a great deal of lessons for us to learn from, to prepare for, and to partner with governments. And that's really the opportunity that APEC provides, this mandated discussion between the public and the private. And UPS, we sit as one of the 3 APEC members, my boss, Laura Lane, and we've used this year to really offer as much as we could in defining what resiliency is from the private sector perspective. We have a report that's coming out through APEC titled The State of APEC Supply Chains, Lessons Learned and Opportunities for Action to Strengthen Resiliency. And it's been a survey of businesses, lead companies, big companies that are big purchasers, Walmart, think of Amazon and Target, folks like that, and then small companies, really the heart of APEC, the medium and the small companies. We've surveyed them both and talked about how they look at resiliency post-pandemic. Where do the gaps still exist? Lots have been repaired. We're sort of in an era of understanding on how disruptive events can be, but where do the gaps remain, and what needs to be done with governments to help repair or prepare within these gaps? It's been a very valuable learning for us to think about this on behalf of the customers we serve and the perspectives of these small businesses that truly need a little assistance at the moment. And it's been welcomed by the US government and informed some of the work we've been able to do together at State Department and USTR. So that's what APEC means to UPS. We're a very committed company and have worked with Alex and the National Center for APEC for decades.
Great, thanks, Catherine. So just moving on to our next topic, both your companies have been long-term members of the National Center for APEC. You pay dues, so I get paid to say great things about APEC, and you all pay money, and then you have to explain, you have to pay, and then you got to talk internally about why you should be working with APEC. You're also sponsors of the CEO Summit this year, apecceosummit.com, or 2023.com. You can look up more information there. But if you could just speak a little bit about, as companies, where you see the value in engagement with such a broad group, diverse economies, it's non-binding. We don't know, we touched upon that today, but APEC's non-binding, right? That we have statements, but we don't have enforceable agreements or anything like that. So just talk a little bit about the value you find as companies. So Sarah, over to you.
Sure. So I think the first thing I want to say about APEC is, yes, it's non-binding, but I feel like it's a starter, a feeder for lots of great ideas. And I can name a lot of them: CPTPP, IPEF, APEC cross-border, CBPR. It's a forum where governments can come and talk to each other, and it sort of is like the incubator for ideas. So that's one thing I really like about it. Of course, the private sector is invited to a lot of these side events, and they're invited to the SAW meetings. So that's a great way for the private sector to engage with economies. I think the other thing is what a company like Citi gets out of it is many of these. So we bank multinationals in the U.S. We bank small businesses in APEC economies, and so we are the facilitator of global trade, and we're helping on both sides the investment flow. So we are pleased to engage with government officials, but also our clients. Many of the people that are coming to these APEC are our clients. So I think that's the value of APEC, and you mentioned it before, and Ambassador Murray mentioned it before. It's that public-private collaboration that makes APEC unique, I think, as opposed to some of these other forums out there.
I echo all of what Sarah said. We have a seat at the table, and we don't at every dialogue. And it's a sincere seat. There's a back and forth. There's a responsiveness from the governments to what the private sector is saying through the ABAC channel. But then there's also, in my experience, and I've worked on APEC my whole career, there is a genuine willingness of governments to meet with business when we convene at the CEO dialogue. It's noticed. You don't get 30-plus global CEOs flying out to a city unless there's some real ROI there. That's just what I've learned is how we as companies work. And it is there because of that desire to make APEC a truly public-private forum. I think the other thing we get out of it and we see a lot of value in is the capacity building that comes from APEC. I think both our companies are very dedicated to SMBs, and there's a work stream that APEC's been very faithful to, and each of the host years in making sure that SMBs are brought into the dialogue and that we understand how to reach them for their skills and inclusion in global trade.
Great, thank you very much. Those are great comments, and again, I'm re-energized hearing my own board members talk about how great it is to deal with APEC. So I think we're moving on, right? I think we're wrapping up. Okay, great. So again, thank you very much. If you can join me in giving a round of applause to Mark.
Well, now the fun part. We've heard from our wonderful private sector colleagues and sponsors for not only the Center for APEC's work, National Center for APEC's work, but also this report. So we're very grateful, of course, to the State Department as well, and to all of you. You're all busy. You have lots of things to do. So thank you for coming up to the Hill today and participating in this program. I hope it was useful to you. I hope you'll share the report or the links to the report from our website. I hope you'll take a look at the other Asia Matters for America series reports. We will be, just in the interest of advertising, on Thursday morning, we'll be launching our new ASEAN report. As you know, the ASEAN Summit was just held, in Jakarta. And so we wanted to flag all of the work that we're doing in the U.S.-ASEAN relationship, and we are pleased to work with the U.S.-ASEAN Business Council and the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in Singapore. And then, of course, to our fabulous team from the East-West Center, I thank you very sincerely for all the wonderful work that you've done to make this event and the report possible.